Hey everyone, and thanks for jumping back into the cryptoverse. Today we're going to talk about Bitcoin and discuss whether 50K is theoretically on the cards. If you guys like the content, please subscribe to the channel, give the video a thumbs up. Also check out the Telegram channel, which you can find a link to in the description below. Let's go ahead and jump in. So the way we're going to go about doing this in this video is we're going to be looking at the extension from the 20-week moving average. This is one that we've looked at before. It's actually been quite helpful in the past. So let's go ahead and take a look. This band here is a combination of the 20-week SMA and the 21-week EMA. And we've color-coded these regions based on if the price of Bitcoin is above either one of those, whether it's either above the 20-week SMA or the 21-week EMA, it'll be colored green. If it's below both, it's color-coded red. This helps us to identify our bear markets, okay? But the line is based on the 20-week moving average, okay? So this indicator is the natural log of the price of Bitcoin divided by the 20-week SMA, okay? The 20-week. And so if the price equals the 20-week, we know that it's the natural log of 1, which the natural log of 1 is 0. So as long as we're holding it as support, like we did last market cycle, we were in a bull market. And you can see we held it as support over here, and it's been a little while since we've tested it. Okay, we've gone quite a long time without testing this support band as support, showing this market cycle is fairly different. So far, I mean, it has its own unique characteristics, but I would say it looks more similar to, say, this cycle over here than this one over here that systematically tested the bull market support band for a couple years. Now, one of the things we can do is, again, we can draw that macro trend line down to show that over the macro scale, we are generally extending not as far from the 20-week moving average, okay? Now, one of the things we can note is that eventually this trend has to break, otherwise it implies that we'll, in say 10 years, if you extend this all the way out, eventually it would imply that maybe by the year 2029, we're always below the 20-week moving average. I'd imagine if it keeps coming up and getting hit by it, gets back down. If it goes below this area, then it implies that it's always below it, which obviously doesn't make sense. Okay, so there's probably going to be a breakout point at some point. Depending on how you draw the line, you could argue that it's already happened, right? I mean, it all depends on how you draw these lines, right? If you and how much, and also I guess I should say how much tolerance you want to put on it. Let me just undo some of these lines. Okay, so but generally speaking, right? I mean, if you say connect the first 3 points, it looks like that. If you try to connect the first, maybe the first, second, and fourth, it might look like that. And if you give it a little bit of wiggle room, the idea here, generally speaking, is that each cycle, what we're seeing systematically is the extension from the 20-week moving average decreasing. Okay, that's ultimately what we want to highlight with this pattern. And so, despite the fact that the price of Bitcoin now is higher than it was a few weeks ago, the extension from the 20-week is lower. Okay, we're only at an extension about 0.69 or so. So if we were to come back up to the same level of overextension, let's say around 0.8, as we were a few weeks ago, we have to account for what is the current 20-week moving average. So the current price of the 20-week moving average is 23,765. So if we took the log of X over 23,765 and set it equal to 0.8, then it would give us a valuation of $52,000, almost $53,000. So if you consider this as just from extension from the 20-week moving average, it is certainly possible that we can break through 50K and still more or less respect this trend line down. The only way that we would necessarily maybe break this trend and say put in a higher level of extension than we did last cycle, we would need to go up to about 1.04. And at the current 20-week moving average, so for the current valuation of the 20-week moving average, to give you an idea of where the price of Bitcoin would need to go this week, it would need to go to $67,000. So if the price of Bitcoin were to go to $67,000, over the next few days, then it would correspond to the same level of overextension from the 20-week moving average that we saw in 2017. I do not think we will see the same level of extension from the 20-week moving average that we saw back then. However, anything's possible, and we're not going to say that it can't happen by any means. Another thing to consider is that that doesn't mean the price can't eventually go to $67,000. It just means that it just likely won't go there in the next couple days, because if it did, then it would actually be the same level of extension from the 20 week as we saw last cycle. And so far, the rule has been that each cycle and each time we come up here and hit this trend line, we're generally trending down in terms of extension from the 20-week moving average, showing that we do have diminished volatility each market cycle, even though it might not feel like it if you just measure the mania phases and ignore everything else. If you guys like the content, make sure you subscribe to the channel. We also have the premium list. You can find the altcoin season sale in the description below. You can lock in the lower rate. You get access to the weekly reports, the weekly videos, the risk dashboard, the Telegram alerts channel, and the Telegram chat room. Make sure you guys check it out if you want to lock in the lower rate. Also, make sure you subscribe to the channel, give the video a thumbs up. Thank you guys for tuning in, and I'll see you next time. Bye.